Hello, this is Dan Alford, and you're listening to Dan's Cadre of Experts. Normally, we bring people on that have a single field of expertise. We've got an unusual guest today, kind of hard to describe. The gentleman we have with us today, entrepreneur, big game hunter, concealed weapons instructor, pistol champion of Africa, has worked for Blackwater, and also does ballet. Greg Garrett, welcome to the show.
Hello, Dan Alford, if that's your real name.
Indeed it is. How long have we known each other?
Gosh, I think it was just after the concealed carry. That would have been 95 or 96 or something.
Right. You were my instructor?
1996.
Indeed. You were the instructor?
Yeah. I
was but the student.
Carter's Country, I think, is when we did that.
Right. Well, you kept hitting me and telling me to get my finger off the trigger, I recall.
Well, some people are slow learners. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into some of these other details. That was just a part-time gig for you at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
subject.
That was my weekend job. I'd lecture all day Saturday, and back then the class was a minimum of 10 hours, no more than 15 hours. And then I'd do that Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday mornings I would wake up with an FM voice. I always hated my high squeaky voice, but by Monday morning I had that Barry White voice.
And so this is a class with a practical and written test which allows people in Texas to carry concealed weapons.
Correct. And now it's gotten a lot easier here in Texas. The guy who wrote that law, he and Charles Cotton and Jerry Patterson, they had to placate a bunch of the Democrats, basically.
It happens.
Yeah. And then last time I talked to Charles, he said, I've never worked so hard to make a law go away. So now it's open carry under certain circumstances and stuff like that.
But there's still a lot of reason to have a concealed carry license. There is.
It's kind of a back then when that law took effect, it was harder to get a license to carry than it is to be a licensed peace officer in the state of Texas.
Interesting.
You couldn't have a Class C, if I'm trying to remember, it's been a while. Yeah. Couldn't have a Class C misdemeanor in the last 5 years, whereas you could still be a cop and have Class B misdemeanor. And you could still be a cop, but you couldn't get a license to carry.
Do I understand you've gone full circle? You're back to teaching?
I've kind of flattered that people are asking me to start teach again. It's a little more difficult now that I've, quote, retired and spent a lot of money buying myself another job at the ranch. But I've been working on putting in a pistol carbine range there. And then I'm doing some other stuff where, like, in fact, that's kind of why I'm in Houston now. Like, I'm going up to Eagle Lake to help with the class. I'm actually not teaching it. I'm assisting in it. And I think you're going to be there.
Rifles only.
Yeah, it's a rifle class.
Out to 1,000.
Yeah, and it's one of those subjects that I've struggled with. And so I'm going there more out of selfishness to learn. That's kind of why I do that stuff anymore, is because I'm greedy. And I'm a pistol guy, mostly. That's what I'm known for.
Tell our audience the story about how in the world you became Africa's master pistol champion. That's like a continent, right?
Yeah, it was the Continental Champion. They call it the SADPA Championship, South Africa. That's where they held it, the 3 years that I shot it.
How many years you win it?
Each one.
Oh.
3 years. Yeah. The only time someone had a better time than I did is when I brought in a guy named Bob Vogel, and he beat me by about 20 seconds. And I took second overall, but I only brought him in if he would shoot in a different division than me. So he was. I think he shot stock, and I shot in the enhanced service pistol division. So, yeah, we both took gold medals that year. So.
I suspect you were more accurate than he was.
Probably. I don't know. That was kind of what I was known for, and it wasn't until I started going faster and didn't concentrate quite so much on the accuracy. That's when I went from being an expert into master class, and so.
I don't know if I ever told you this. I once took a class here in town. They said the only way to beat Greg, that was everyone's goal here in Houston, is to miss more than he does.
Yeah. And then I heard that, and then I started going faster. But that was in the expert division. And then I started going faster and started really working on my shooting. And yeah, that's when I went into master. I know who you're talking about, too.
Yeah. Another mutual friend.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, he was right.
Yeah. So. Well, I can miss more than you easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Here, well, I had a shooting team, Team CompTac, and my motto for the team was, because I've probably one of the worst shooters on the team. I just wrote the check, so I was the team captain. But I said our motto was, we never miss.
You don't.
Our bullets always hit something.
Something or other, yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, you said the word CompTag. Okay.
That was a company I founded over 20
What's
years
CompTag?
ago. It was a holster company, and we did other accessories too. Like I had a rifle case and things like that, but mostly holsters and concealment holsters, competition holsters, and accessories, mag pouches, light holders, and things like that. So.
Yeah, I'm going to tell my version of the story. So, we first met. You were my CHL instructor.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and then you loaned me a pistol for the class because I didn't have an appropriate one, and then I brought it back to you. Went to your factory where you're making holsters. Okay, and you had just retired. How many years before from the Houston Ballet?
Probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so you're a reformed or recovering ballet dancer at that point.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a minute. But and so I go into your shop, and it was filled with pancake skillets, skateboard wheels,
Yep.
and machines made out of wood.
Yeah. Didn't know any better.
Right.
To heat the material, I'd go down to the Sears down there on Shepherd in Houston and get a $19 pancake skillet and kind of grind the side off of it, and that's what I'd use to.
Because you're making these holsters out of Kydex.
Kydex.
That's the same thing they make the inside of airplanes out of.
Yeah, when you pull down your window shade on an airplane or your tray table, Kydex is that material in there. They like it in the airline industry because if you take the flame away, it goes out. It doesn't burn by itself.
But you liked it because when you heat it in a pancake skillet, it becomes soft enough you can mold it
You
around.
can form it, yeah.
So, which was, you made great holsters. And I bought a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
But the flaw in your business model was you made every holster specifically for one and only model, as I recall.
Yep. And they still, I sold the company. It's still going strong, but they're still doing it that way. But we did find for retailers a way to make a mold that would cover about 80% of the market in 3 different holster forms, like a form 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they were ambidextrous too. So a retailer could have somebody comes in, buys a gun. A lot of people don't know there's not a lot of money in the gun industry. Where the margin is in the accessories. So a smart retailer, he'll tell his salesman, you sell a gun, if you sell 5 more items, I'll give you a little spiff or something like that. So we need a cleaning kit, defensive ammo, practice ammo, gun rug, holster, stuff like that. That's where the better margin is. So
Interesting. Okay, so you sold that company how long ago?
Almost 5 years ago now.
Wow.
4.5 years ago, yeah.
And you've been unemployed since.
Loving it.
Gainfully unemployed.
Gainfully unemployed.
What have you been up to?
Well, I bought a ranch because I wanted to keep up with the Alfords.
I see.
Yeah, after you got yours, I said, actually, I wanted one. Actually, I'll tell you, I was on a beautiful ranch in the Texas Hill Country probably 25 years ago, and I decided then, and it's about the time I started teaching, and I said, I'm going to start a business. I had no idea what it was going to be, but I wanted a ranch someday, and it'd be kind of cool to have. I never thought I could do it, but I actually did. And we own it outright. And,
living the dream.
Oh, it's amazing. But there's always something to do. Like this time of year, it's a high fenced ranch. You get a coyote inside the fence, and it's about $600 every other day for every fawn he eats minimum. Potentially $5,000 he eats every day. Good. So I run the fence line every morning. I've got snares and dog-proof traps, and so I'm a trapper too.
Okay, so what are you trying to protect? Tell them what are you raising? These are not Texas whitetail deer.
Well, I have gotten into whitetails lately. I wasn't ever really a big whitetail enthusiast, but it's like the holster business. It's like it doesn't matter what I like and what I want; it's what the customer wants.
Indeed.
So I've gotten in. The whitetails are coming along. In a couple of years, we'll have a huntable herd. But our biggest herd is our axis deer, or cheetal deer, or spotted deer, whatever you want to call it.
Zebra, wildebeest.
Zebras are their lawn ornaments for the wife.
Oh, I see.
She likes them, and I got
red deer.
Yeah,
black buck.
Red deer doing good. Black
aoudad.
buck. And of course, we got hit real hard 2 years ago with the freeze. But yeah, we got aoudad, and I accidentally got in the goat business. These ibex.
Thank you very much, by the way.
Well, I was just, I lost. Well, I was trying to bid it up for a friend of mine,
Thank you very much.
Dan Alford, and they got dumped on me. So all of a sudden, I'm in the goat business.
So how are the goats? How are the
Actually,
ibex
they're doing really well.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, so far so good. But yeah, we got a lot of oryx, scimitar horned oryx. They're doing really good too. Black buck are coming back from the freeze. What else?
Scimitar, they're fairly rare in the native Africa, as I recall, because I heard that we were actually, our organization, we're both members of the Exotic Wildlife Association.
Correct, yeah.
We were involved in the reintroduction of scimitar back into Senegal.
It is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Senegal.
I thought those were the...
I thought they were from up north of the main. It could be. But I understand they went extinct in 2000. But it's like black buck antelope. We're prepared to help reintroduce those into India and Pakistan, but not until there's an organization that will protect them till they can get built back better. Oh, my God. Did I just say that? So they can reintroduce them so you can have a sustainable herd in their native land. So.
Well, same thing on the Pear David, which I still think you should buy some of my Pear David.
Well, as soon as I get my water element built, yeah.
For the people out there, Pear David is an odd-looking deer that was native to China. They must be delicious because they were eaten to extinction, but they're thriving in Texas, oddly enough, and they've been reintroduced back into China. Unfortunately, what one thing they like is seaweed.
Really?
Yeah, they like to. I catch them in the pond all the time eating seaweed. So, and you don't have a pond.
No,
so as soon as you have a pond, we're going to hook you up with some extinct deer.
I put in the well to put the pond in, but I've been kind of busy. Been working on the range and stuff like that. So
I see.
In fact, that's kind of why I'm in Houston. I'm picking up another Connex to store more food for the animals in. So, never stops. Never stops.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. You mentioned Mr. Cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Mutual friend of ours. What's his job nowadays?
I think he's with the National Rifle Association.
The president, I believe.
Yeah, president. Yeah, I have not talked to him in a long time. So, but yeah, he gets around.
Yeah,
it's been very important actually here in Texas in protecting our rights.
Yeah.
So
he was a lawyer by trade and did a great job.
We still like him.
No, he's a good fellow. Speaking of gun rights, let's go topical for the moment. I saw something in the news about pistol braces. Explain that to the people who don't understand.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing about the firearm industry because the laws are mostly written or enforced or engaged by bureaucrats, and so and a lot of people will look at the laws or the rules that the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms and explosive people have, and they'll go, "Oh, look, they missed this."
Find a loophole.
Yeah,
and exploit it.
Find a loophole and exploit it. And so they found out if you had and it was really kind of timely because I got guys coming back out of the sandbox in places over there that got blown up, and they need assistance. So they found if you can make, like, let's say an AR-15 platform or something like that.
Which is normally a rifle.
It was designed, Eugene Stoner designed a rifle, and people and I'm no different. The older I get, the more I like shorter, lighter things. Because there's a big knob in the universe where people turn up the gravity every year.
That's what's been happening.
Well, that's my theory. So...
Okay, let's go back for the folks who don't understand. So I could take my AR and saw the barrel off. What happens?
You're a felon.
Oh.
Congratulations. I think it's 10 years, $10,000 fine, kind of what they can get you on that.
So if you want a short barrel rifle, what's a way to do?
A way to do that is, you can make an application and pay a $200 tax to get a short barrel rifle tax stamp.
And you go through a background.
I don't know that's the back. I think there probably is a background check, but you make this application. You buy the gun. You have to leave it with the dealer
for over a year. Typically.
It depends on when they get to you at the AT office. And that's the funny thing about the division that handles this. When you pay that $200 tax, it doesn't go to that division. It just goes into the regular fund. And I've talked to some of the agents about that. Is how can we redirect that money so you guys can
there'll be an incentive.
Well, so that you guys aren't waiting, staring at this paperwork, and you got people complaining that, and it's the same sort of application if you want a suppressor or a short barrel shotgun or a short barrel rifle or a machine gun or something like that.
But that's what this what do you call it? The pistol brace
the
technology allowed people to have a shorter barrel rifle,
right?
Which for some reason the government had designated as a bad thing,
right?
Even though pistols by nature are very short. You know, the snubbies are 2-inch barrels.
Yeah, not even that, inch and 7, 8. But people could get around that law or that rule by saying, well, this is a pistol. It's got this brace on the back of it so I can hold it against my forearm or actually strap it to my forearm. You know, if it's more of an orthopedic situation for a lot of people, but then it kind of looks like it might be a buttstock. And if they say that, and there was one time the rule was if you touch it against your shoulder, you're a felon, whether you pull the trigger or not.
Over that, though.
Well, it looks like, who knows? I mean, they changed the rules with the barometric pressure, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, and that was the point I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
So if this goes through, there's 40 million illegal guns out there.
Potentially, I guess.
Did you bring a crystal ball? What happens?
I have no idea. I mean, we thought when the previous president was in place that he would do something about that to help clarify it, but he was focused on other things. So
Indeed.
Nothing happened then. So we thought we were going to get the Hearing Protection Act passed so everybody can have a suppressor. If you're in Europe, it's considered socially unacceptable to not shoot with a suppressor on your gun, but somehow they're taboo here.
Right, it's just like in America, if you have a noisy car, that's bad, but if you have a quiet gun, that's bad. I don't understand.
And that's, yeah.
I'm struggling with this.
Good luck. So, I didn't know we were going to have cameras here. How's my hair?
Oh, perfect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Tell us about, so 2 years before you started Comtac, you were prancing about in leotards.
You want to call it that? Okay, yeah. I went from tights to triggers, as I like to say. I was with the Houston Ballet for 16 years. So.
Yeah, we got to watch you play, or it's not, you don't call it playing, perform as Don Quixote a couple of times.
Yeah, Don Quixote was the last, when I was under contract, that was the last role that was kind of given to me to do. It was my last kind of title role to do. I enjoyed that.
We saw you were a king not long afterwards.
Oh, yeah, I did a neat ballet actually called Maria, about Marie Antoinette, and I did Louis the 14th.
I thought you did a couple of characters.
Oh, yeah, in the second or third act or whatever it was, I was the kind of the inquisitor judge that, condemned her to separate her head from her body. So
I don't believe you had any speaking part. You didn't have a speaking part, did you?
Not in those. Some ballets do have speaking parts.
I thought I was kidding.
No, I have had to speak on stage.
Oh, have you? Huh.
Yeah, Cruel Garden, there's a speaking part in that. It's a Christopher Bruce ballet. He's kind of cool and weird, and that's why I like his stuff. I like weird stuff.
So here we got this guy that's worked for Blackwater, makes holsters, shoots guns fairly well, and dances in the ballet.
Used to.
Is this,
Yep.
is there treatment for this, or is this normal? Or
Yeah.
How do you explain this combination?
I go live with my wife and myself out in the country. Just stay away from people. So, yeah.
So to me, that's fascinating to have spent that much time on it, because you're on stage for years, right?
Yeah. I actually first started in 1968. It was my first professional performance.
68?
Yeah. You know who Bonnie Raitt is?
So you weren't even 10 years old.
I was 8.
8 years old.
Yeah. Do you know who Bonnie Raitt is?
Yeah.
The first time I appeared on the professional stage was with her father, John Raitt. Yep.
And then this moved in. So, tell us the ballet story.
Okay. Well, my parents met. Dad, I'm an Air Force brat. I was born at Offutt Air Force Base back in the SAC and TAC days. And then they sent him to England, and then we all moved to England there. But they had met through kind of local community theater. They're both show business types. In fact, you've probably seen my father in movies. That's kind of a hobby of his, to be a bit player or an extra in the background or stuff
It's in the blood.
Yeah. And in our family, when you turn like 10 years old or went into the 4th grade, you have to choose an art to study. And my brother's a trumpet player, and you've probably heard him play if you listen to commercials and things like that. He's a horn player, and he teaches, and he's got a band and all that stuff. And my sister took up sketching and stuff like that. My brother Pat took up guitar, and it was my turn. And we were doing the community theater thing. We did Carousel and Carousel, which was John Rait's kind of big thing, and then we did Gypsy with Gypsy Rose Lee, and so I had a little song and dance thing in that. And so it was my turn. I remember my mom talking to this choreographer, and he said, it's his turn to take an art. He said, well, if he wants to be a dancer, he should take ballet. And I like pretty girls, so I got into ballet, took classes then, and got out of it in high school. That's when I took up fencing. But
Have you done some of that in film, or you were teaching people?
Actually,
what was it? What were you doing?
Yeah, I was supposed to be a body double for a guy named Sam Bottoms in a movie. I was a fencer, which is kind of cool because you wear a mask. It's easy to do that. But we never shot those scenes. Their budget wasn't very good in that. And then
you've used the fencing in the ballet, haven't you?
Yeah, and Romeo and Juliet, I was known as Tybalt. And I did Lord Capulet, Lord Capulet also. But first cast, I was Tybalt, and I was actually the fight choreologist for that. I had to set those fight scenes on other companies. I worked in England. I went back to England to work. Here's this guy from Texas teaching the Brits Shakespeare. It was kind of funny. Just the fight scenes. Our fight scenes in our production, we didn't want to do the 8 counts, tick 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 down there. It was pretty good fight scenes. So, and I knew them all. I learned them all, so I could teach them. But yeah, it's kind of funny when I was in theater. If there was a weapon on stage, generally I was the guy with it. I was the cop that shot the guy that was an assassin in one of the more minor assassinations prior to World War II in a ballet called Café Soir. I was the cop, and I saved the day by shooting the assassin.
So this whole dancer gun thing isn't as much of a contradiction as it might appear.
Yeah, not so much now that I think about it. So. Okay. Yeah,
it all fits together.
So anyway, I did that, and then in high school, I just kind of did the theater thing in high school, and then when it's time to go out and get a job, I decided what was I going to do, because I was working on truck tires during the summer. Had an
exciting career.
Oh yeah,
split rims.
Yep.
Okay, those will kill you.
Yeah, Dayton's and Bud wheels, and did implement stuff. And I said, boy, this sucks. And I talked to my dad about going to the military because I thought I'd be a weapons guy.
Mm-hmm.
He said,
and he was.
Well, yeah, but he was Air Force, and I was looking at the Army, and he goes, oh yeah, I said, I want to be a weapons guy. Oh, you want to clean guns all day? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So anyway.
I know that's not one of your things, because you tell me you don't clean your guns until they get too heavy.
Yeah, unless they're too heavy. These things exist to serve me, not the other way around. It's just kind of a way I think about it. But I keep them running, but I'm not that meticulous about their upkeep. But you can feel it. Once you get dialed in with your pistol or something, you can kind of feel when that slide's slowing down on you. So you get
maybe at your level. Yeah,
I got bore boogers, so you need to dust them out of there. But yeah, anyway, I did that. Came to Texas, auditioned for Houston Ballet.
What year?
79.
That's when I came.
Yeah, that's when all the cool guys got here. And then, boy, it was neat. I was there at the time when they were doing a lot of touring, so I got to do 2 European tours in Norway and some of the Scandinavian stuff too. I loved it. So
it's 79 until
I left in 95.
That's a long career for a dancer, isn't it?
Yeah, for a guy. Yeah, I had back problems. I had back surgery.
Because you had to pick these girls up.
Yeah, and. I've had my ankles worked on, my feet worked on, my back, and
these are all related to
to
ballet.
And when I had my back surgery, I thought, man, that might be the end of it. But I was able to do character roles and things like that, and I got another 3 or 4 years out of my career, and it's time to get out. And when I left, I had no idea which direction I was going to go. Absolutely.
Didn't you tell me that they give the dancers a small amount of money and pat them on the butts and send them on?
Yeah. They don't do that anymore. Actually, they have a lot of. They have a program now where they actually, if you're getting ready to retire, they'll send you to school for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
you took your small amount of money and went and bought
$7,000,
and that bought you a lot of frying pans and Kydex.
Yeah. My initial investment for my company was about $135. So Home Depot and Sears and some material. So
And it was quite successful. By the time you sold it, you had 20 or 30 people working there.
Yeah, about 25 people, and built a nice building for them to be in, and they're still there now. So
do you miss it? Talk to the entrepreneurs who are listening to us here, Greg.
Sometimes I do. Yeah, the creative thing, and part of the thing is particularly for holsters. Like I just replaced a holster that I broke, and I went online because I want something fast and something that was on the shelf and you get it on Amazon. And the holster I'm wearing right now, I had delivered to me for under $22.
Right.
And you can go on YouTube and see all kinds of videos on how to make these Kydex holsters for yourself in your home. And there's people selling kits for it. And I go, there's still a place for holster manufacturers, but for the do-it-yourselfers and what people are charging for some of these things, I don't know how they do it.
You're a victim of your own success.
I guess
you showed
so.
everybody how to do it.
There's good stuff out there.
Well, I'm in the same boat. You got to have the right skills at the right place at the right times.
Yep.
It sounds like. So that was right. When you're going to Kydex, you're a competition shooter primarily, and at least on the weekends. And so back in the day, everybody's shooting out of leather, right? And that was slower. Was that your goal, to make a fast holster?
Well, no. Where I wanted to compete, because there was another guy north of I-10, that makes him a Yankee.
Yeah.
Who had a reputation making really good holsters, but you'd order a holster, send him a check, he'd sit on that, and if he didn't make it for you in a year or so, he'd call you up and, you want your check back, because I'm just not going to get to it. So as business is concerned, I tried to compete on 3 different levels, because that guy was out there and he was kind of well known on the internet, but I wanted to get people a product just as good or better than that. And so I wanted, and at a price that people could notice that was, less, and more importantly, turn it around in 24 hours.
Yep.
And that means I was in my shop, that shop that you first came to,
which is the top of an old rice refinery.
It's next to the rice. It was a cotton warehouse. Had a spur on there back in the 20s. That's where they.
Yeah, it was right by the train track.
It was a railhead.
The front door that was locked was like 100 yards away from your shop.
Oh, yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It wasn't air conditioned. It was hot with a capital F in there. That's for Fahrenheit. It was, but that's where it started. But if I'd get a call at 7 o'clock in the evening and I was still there, and I generally was, I worked half days, as you guys know, but entrepreneurs, so half days is 12 hours. And then I could get that order, and if I wasn't exhausted, I'd work until about 11:45 boxing them up, because I could be at the downtown post office in Houston and have them postmarked the same day. And it about killed me, but that's
how you built your reputation.
The entrepreneurs out there, they know, they've gone through that stuff. I don't care if you're a welder or whatever.
You had such a loyal following. It was almost like a cult.
Yeah, I guess so. I loved it, though. I enjoyed it. And, and that was one of the things when, as a gun guy, when new guns have come out, you've kind of arrived when the gun manufacturer will call you up and say, hey, we got this gun out. Your NDA is still good. And they just send me a gun.
And then you'd form a holster around it.
I'd make the molds to make the holsters for it, so that when that gun hit the market, people could start carrying it immediately. And that's kind of when I felt like, hey, I've kind of arrived now.
Kind of credible to the guys making the weapons themselves.
And then they show up to your shop and they wonder why you're carrying that other gun. And so it was tough conversations. So
I see.
Yep.
So no regrets on selling it, though.
No. I sold it. I basically sold out when I was 58 years old, and I just didn't want to. I watched a friend of mine die at his desk at 80, and I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to get out when I was young enough to appreciate the ranch.
All right, so you're teaching long range rifles out to 1,000 this weekend. You're still teaching it's no longer called concealed weapons. It's licensed to carry, right?
Yeah, correct.
LTC.
Right.
And you're still teaching that. And out at the ranch, how are you making money?
Hunting. I have hunters coming in.
You're teaching long-range shooting there, too.
Well,
training?
As a hunter, I really enjoyed hunting, but I don't enjoy it as much as I do guiding and teaching new hunters.
Yeah. Living vicariously, are you?
Yeah, I really enjoy that. And we're starting a pistol league out there at our little town.
On your ranch?
Yeah. Well, you haven't seen the range in a while, but I built another shelter, and I actually welded the other day.
Oh, it's got to be ugly.
Frightening. Yeah, it is ugly, but it's that long list of things I don't have any talent for, but I got the equipment. So
I see. This is near Junction, Texas.
Correct. Yeah.
You got a website set up yet?
I do. It's not quite done yet, but our ranch is named Muzunga.
Is it possible to spell?
Muzunga, Muzunga.com.
Oh, just like it sounds.
Yeah.
Only not really.
And it's named at, when we'd come into the villages when I was working in Africa, that's what the little kids would yell
Working in Africa, what were you doing?
I was chasing poachers.
Huh.
And then that's kind of how I got over there. I did some asset transport security, and then I got in a chase.
Assets? Human or?
No, just stuff. Yeah, they have a lot of diamond mines and stuff like that over there. So, and they blow things up a lot. So we'd be
dynamite in, diamonds out.
Blasts in and rocks out.
Dull life you've had.
So yeah, and then I got involved with because I was hunting, and got involved with some of the poacher abatement work over there, and that was like a 6-week contract at a time, and that got me involved in kind of doing my last contract was with Blackwater, so they don't exist anymore. But that was fun. I was here locally, or here Conus. It was in when Katrina came through was my last big deal with that. But then I'd run back and forth to Africa and kind of do some stuff after that. And
the rest of us have to pay our way over to Africa, just so you know.
Yeah, well, but it was kind of funny because I was looking at my webpage, and I didn't even know this, but I had a dealer in South Africa. So I contacted him one day and I said, hey, I went to his webpage and I said, hey, you got these matches and this is who I am. And he invited me to come shoot the matches. So I try to coordinate that trip with picking up poachers and things like that.
Yeah.
So
get paid to go on vacation.
Loved it. Well, yeah, it's funny because you kind of have to leave the money there. I had a bank account there, so I'd go over there and eventually the bank account went down.
I think this is going to be broadcast, Greg.
You don't want to bring back more than $10,000 at a time. So,
I see.
So
you could work cheaper.
Huh?
Didn't think that would appeal to you.
No, it was really more for the experience. And it was the rhinoceros. From what I've heard lately, the rhino horns that we were protecting, back when I was there, back in late '90s and up through 2013, I think was my last go round. Rhino horns was $100,000 a piece, and I'm told now that it's up to $250,000 for a rhino horn.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
That's just hard to suppress the poachers when there's that much monetary incentive.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 types of poaching. There's subsistence poaching, and these are just local tribesmen just trying to catch something to eat. And then there's called the bushmeat market.
Yep.
And these are kind of professional guys. They go out there, and the problem with the way they do it is they don't discriminate. They're throwing up a road. You could look down through kind of a thick brush where there's a pathway, an animal track path going through there, and you can look down through there, and I've crawled through them, and there'd be 5 snares deep in there through 20 feet.
And these snares are a cruel way to catch things.
Yeah, and they catch whatever comes along. You can't say, oh, I want a gray diker today, or I want a springbuck or a bushbuck or something like that. They just catch whatever. And then there's the big metal traps. I saw a few of those, but that's kind of not what we were doing.
I was in Zambia 2 years ago, and they had thousands of snares that they had recovered.
Yeah, you find big piles of them.
Yeah. And
Did you see any of the bigger traps?
No, I never saw a foot trap.
Did they show you any of the guns that they make there, the muzzle loaders?
I didn't see that either. If you'd have told me about the foot traps, I would have walked more carefully.
Oh, man, they're horrifying. But the poachers that they make their own guns out of muzzle loaders. And I got to see some of the guns, but sometimes they'll find one that has blown up and killed the guy that was. Yeah, it's kind of gruesome. They find a blood path and some line have dragged it off somewhere. So, yeah, it's nasty stuff.
I saw the fellows that were on the anti-poaching staff there, and they had quite an unusual array of guns because everything had been recovered from poachers. So
Oh, is that right?
there was no standardization at all.
Right.
But that's us hunters that pay for that
Right.
anti-poaching program.
Yeah, ours was a mixed bag. It was hunters, it was organizations. I don't want to mention them, but local landowners, and then there was government money involved.
Whose government?
Theirs
Local?
and theirs, and local.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand there's other organizations like SCI. I'm a life member of SCI, and I think they were involved. They sent over a helicopter. They bought a helicopter over there for us. Yeah, which is handy.
You know, we had Badar on, Joe Badar, Houston Safari Club.
I have not met him. So.
CEO, a great guy. And we had him on a couple of weeks ago, and he's helping to fund a deal where what they're doing is giving the folks an alternative to poaching. And I love that solution. You know,
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you might be a poacher if you were trying to feed your family.
Sure.
You know, and so if they have alternatives and they have a hospital and they have a place and they have sustainable agriculture, so I applaud what Joe's doing.
Yeah.
And Houston Safari Club.
The problem is a mindset. It's kind of a cultural thing because these tribes like the Loza tribe and people like that, they don't think.
Did you do the click?
Loza tribe?
Wow.
Yeah, probably did it wrong, but there's an old joke. What does a bushman say when he stubs his toe?
I give up.
Damn. So
Got it.
but there's kind of a trope in a way where these organizations come up and they give them rabbits. They give them a male and a female rabbit because they reproduce quickly.
Yep.
And they drop them off. They do this with goats and things like that too. And and they come back 2 months later and it says, "How are the rabbits doing?" So, "Oh, they were delicious." Yeah. And you have to change that mindset.
Yeah.
And so it's part of the educational thing.
I remember when we were at one of our meetings, and they had a group of folks from South Africa, and they had a graph. It was hilarious. The number of rhinos poached compared to the number of anti-rhino poaching organizations, they seem to go up together. What the point was, they're having huge trouble over there, and they were over here talking to our group, trying to relocate rhinos to leave a genetically viable pool over here because in Africa, rhinos are endangered, but in Texas, poachers are endangered.
Yeah, right. How's that going? I haven't heard anything on it.
It's immensely complicated, but they had some success. But you know, it's $1 million if you want to get in the program. You know, because you have to have fences, you have to have infrastructure, on and on. But I love the program because you know, I've already given you a couple examples. The scimitar and the pear David, you know, have all been reintroduced. So I think a viable genetic pool outside of the dangerous area is a great idea.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, we'll protect them here, by golly.
Yep. They're pretty safe.
Yep.
They've got some up in Austin at our friend Gregory's place.
Oh, good. This is the first I've heard that we actually have them here.
Yeah,
in the program.
Jim Gregory at right there in Austin. What does he call it? Austin Savannah.
Cool.
You know, he's got rhinos there, and he's doing a great job with them. He's doing his part.
Excellent.
What else is topical, timely, Greg? It's hard to catch you. You know, you're only flying through town every now and then.
Right.
So.
Right.
Anything else on your?
I don't know.
So, okay, you've got your website, so somebody wants to do that, and we're going to get you on the Exotic Wildlife Association board.
Yeah, I'm ready. Like I said, you're my mentor for that. So you just nudge me when I vote yay or nay. So
no, I'm on the nominating committee, so you're in. But
all right.
So you'll be more involved in that. Good to hear.
Yep. Mostly getting I've started several clubs here in Houston, so I think I can do it out there in Junction as far as defensive pistol type of shooting is.
No doubt.
That's kind of where I'm going right now.
You have the police involved?
I will. I've talked to some of them. I've worked with law enforcement, military, and civilians on 3 continents now, so it doesn't bother me a bit. So,
got any adventures planned?
Actually, I don't.
What?
I've got nothing.
How many continents have you hunted on?
Well, I've hunted a lot in Africa, here
New Zealand.
and New Zealand. It's not. I guess New Zealand technically isn't a continent. No.
Not wild enough for you, huh?
I've never hunted to Europe. I spent a lot of time there, but I never. You know, it's like I had to go to a birthday party in Australia with my wife. One of her friends had a party there. She was a flight attendant, so you know, you get on an airplane, it's not a big deal. And I was so ticked off that I couldn't go up north and do some hunting up there in the northern area of Australia. But we actually got married in New Zealand. And I told my wife, my fiance at the time, I said, you know, you want me to show up, there better be some hunting involved. So
What'd you call it? Hunting?
The hunting moon.
Hunting moon.
So yeah, so she got a big elk, or wapiti as they call it there, and I got a nice red stag and some other things. So that was fun. Did some helicopter inserts up there too. So
It's been a great life, hasn't it?
I love it. If I drop dead right now, I have a life that I'll be fine.
Oh yeah, I tell people your story and they go like, "No." I go, "No, it's true." So that's why we had to get you on today.
Okay.
So I tell you what, why don't you get the ranch rolling and then come back and bring us some more stories in the near future?
Okay. All right. Love to.
Well, Greg Garrett, ballet Blackwater entrepreneur, thank you so much for coming on today.
Dan, you've been, well, the first time we met, it was in the class, and you came over to my shop, and I watched you staring around my shop. I thought, oh, I got my first industrial spy here. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I make robots and I want to help you. And I've noticed, as long as we've known each other, you've always been the guy that's always helping other people. I salute you. You've been an inspiration to me. And I want to thank you and Kathy for your friendship.
Oh, more than welcome. It's fun to be part of everybody's success, everybody's adventure. And there's a little, I remember on your website for several years, you had a little tiny note that said, "Thanks, Dan."
Right.
Nobody knew what that was except for me.
Yeah.
But, that meant a lot to me. So no, I'm more than paid back.
And you can tell people that I'm famous for abusing my friendships. So congratulations.
All right. Well, let's get you back on again. Thanks for coming.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Take care.